Hello and welcome to Tech with Briley. We are going to work on a task today to help people get started with Langflow development. Today I met with a friend at the library and we were doing a kind of a crash course in Langflow. Briefly, Langflow is a visual development environment for generative AI applications. It lets you put these components onto a canvas and connect them as a graph, kind of a data flow graph, and you basically get a chat agent that can perform tasks. It can retrieve data from vector storage and do a whole bunch of other things. Essentially anything you can do in Python. Everything is Python underneath. You can even just check the Python source code for each of these, or modify it, as well as create your own custom Python functions and classes. It's really powerful. That said, it's Python, so of course getting it running, especially on Windows, is a bit of a pain for people who haven't really got the muscle memory of creating virtual environments, haven't previously set up, pipx or various tools in their PowerShell. I don't know. It took us over an hour to just try multiple attempts of reading the docs and following the installation steps. It took us at least 30 minutes. It felt like an hour. It probably was about an hour. We ended up actually, we had tried installing pipx, running with the pipx way. They actually had installed Python 3.12, and so that didn't quite work because not all the wheels have been built that are for the dependencies, so that's why they're recommending 3.10. And then so we needed a tool to manage the Python version, hence pipx. Getting the pipx aliases in the PowerShell on Windows was basically a no-go, even though we followed the pipx instructions very carefully. I mean, I work on a daily basis in Python as a Python developer, and every time I try to help somebody go over that initial learning curve of getting a project installed, especially somebody new to code, it's just really painful. It's just disappointing. It wasted a bunch of our time. And even the instructions here, they're really they're saying to install it at the user level, but in a way, this is bad advice. We should be making a virtual environment. So they're not even encouraging us to do that here, probably because they know of the pains involved with that process. So there's a Langflow HuggingFace space. Let's give this a try. I want to introduce a couple more friends to this tool, Langflow, because it's getting the knowledge of how to work with large language models, how to build bespoke applications and personal assistants. I think this is really increasingly important as we look at how work is changing in the 21st century. I believe knowledge work in particular is going to be greatly affected by these large language models, and a lot of our tasks will be at least assisted by these models. So I want to help, I want to learn from my own career growth and development and help some friends explore that. So the long goal is to have like a button they can click and get it running locally, ideally, and then maybe a HuggingFace space, so that they don't even have to have a good computer, just a web browser. That's not always given. People don't always have good computers, and we've got to kind of, they might have a Chromebook or something like that, lightweight little mobile device, or even a tablet, and they just want to get started with this. So let's see what we can do here. We're going to try to be creating just a Dockerfile locally. I'll look in the Langflow repo just to see if they already have a Dockerfile and what's in there, because that's probably got a lot of tacit knowledge. We're going to make file. Docker directory here. Some CI related scripts, CDK, dev Dockerfile, render Dockerfile. And so they do have some help with deployment. This is another goal I've got, is to very cool. So we already actually got a Dockerfile here. Give other deployment strategies like DigitalOcean Spaces. Yeah, Render is nice and everything, but I don't really trust them yet. And given some of the recent strategies, the pricing for Render is kind of really strange to me. It just jumps really big. It's sort of reminiscent of where we go, predictable, but it's got a huge jump. So you go from 0 to 20 almost immediately. I guess it does include access to a managed Postgres. For 20 you're getting pretty good stuff. But is it so pricing? Yeah. So no, you're paying per each of those things. Yeah. 1 gig, so for $7 a month, 1 gig of RAM. Yeah, so they sort of just jump 7, 20, 95. So, and I kind of get it. You want to keep your pricing simple, but really, and I can see that the resources allotment is like, increasing at roughly the same rate. But this is not, useful. 256 megs, you're going to at least need that. So you're already, for just a simple project, you're going to be looking at $20 a month plus, another probably 10 your baseline team cost. No, 20. So you're looking at like $40 a month pretty quick. Yeah. So DigitalOcean is a really good alternative to this. They're not the cheapest, and I don't think we should expect the resources to be free. I believe we should have an expectation of paying for resources and services to get a good customer experience. And but you can get started with a virtual machine droplet. Pricing. Pretty cheap. And there's other providers like Hetzner and a number of these VPS providers. And even, a VPS is not a good comparison with these platform as a service offerings. Naturally, I believe Render is more of a platform as a service. They're managing your software for you. So the comparison here then would be to the app platform. But even that, the app platform starts pretty cheaply. You just pay for a droplet and optionally, so starts at $5 a month, and then if you need a managed Postgres, then it's gonna jump up pretty quick, but not like substantially. You're not gonna be looking at 40 a month. So anyway, options are good, competition is good in this field, and just the pricing of the Render and other providers, not specifically Render. It just, I'm repeating myself, but it seems like it's too steep, the jumps, when your application grows a little bit. And I understand they're targeting for enterprise customers. So yeah, they're going to price it for enterprise, but that means the smaller projects and individuals and side projects kind of get priced out. Yeah, what was the name of the famous Heroku? Heroku did the same thing. It gave you a lot of upstart projects could get started on a Heroku real quick. For $5, but then their pricing, now we need an estimator, a calculator, to even get an idea of what their pricing is going to be. But it jumps real quick from 5 to basically 25. Maybe it's changed, but it did used to be a pretty steep jump. But so you pay up to $5 a month, then you have to go to the next tier, up to $9 a month. These are for Postgres. But so these are nice features. That's what we're looking for. Deploy with Git and Docker. So you just have a Docker file and it runs. So let's just get this. Let's get back to the point. Just kind of showing some of where this might be heading. So we're installing Langflow. So that's already not correct. I'm going to have to modify this Dockerfile a little bit. Greater than or equal to 0.5, and they're installing to the user space, but that makes sense in a Dockerfile. 3 weeks ago. What we want to have is the Langflow pre-released version in a Dockerfile. So it's essentially this. So pretty close. Let's go ahead and grab this content here. I'll bring it to my VS Code here. A little kind of working project I got. Once this is more polished, I'm going to publish this to GitHub. Cool. So we might not need this. We might not need all these dependencies that they're installing. So let's just try removing that and that. We're going to just take this. And we probably don't need the force reinstall since it's going to build the. And doesn't these mean the same thing, minus u user? I think that means the same thing. Maybe not, I don't know. Let's ask ChatGPT. You and user serve different purposes in the context of pip install commands. Upgrade. Flag is used to upgrade an existing package to the latest version. Okay. Got it. All right, but I still think we're just installing it fresh, so I don't know why they would upgrade that in the context of a Dockerfile, but all right, there's some kind of reasoning. I'll basically leave this, put this in place. It's pre minus u minus user. Forgot the dot. Okay, so we're going to build the Dockerfile. And I might be able to just publish this pre-built image. But the problem we had was really getting these dependencies installed. As I mentioned, the Python version they had installed in Windows was like 3.12.3. And not all the wheels were available. Yeah, and it was also kind of slow. And so I think hopefully this would abstract that. So I just want to publish that and share it. So you get a Docker Hub account, you're logging to Docker Hub. You tag it, push the image, and they can just run it. Shouldn't need to do that, but I'm just going to double check. Ooh, okay. Yeah, it's basically what I understood too. It still baffles me a little bit how that works when it's not a virtualization layer, but okay. So they just pull it and run it. Okay. So I'm asking, should I give it a name? How do we name that? The T option to tag your image name. And let's say we'll run it. We'll call it Langflow. Langflow pre-release. I think if I run, take a look at Docker over here. Okay, I do see. I've got a. Okay, and it had cached everything, so that was much faster. So this is going to make it much better, and then open. I need to let's see. I need to expose the port. Expose port 7860. Add the expose instruction. Now we're running. We're up and good. We're good to go. So another problem, we don't have persistent storage here. Whenever you restart this, it's gonna delete things, which may not be a problem if we're just using cloud services in the graph. If I click here, you know, we use vector stores that are online, like Pinecone or you know, Astra, and I've tried Astra so far. But there's this Chroma one, it just runs it locally, it creates a local MySQL database. And you persist it just like that. I don't know what the default value is though. So we have home, user, app. And if I just put an embedding here, let's see what happens here. Yeah. Just like any of them. Familiar with OpenAI, it doesn't matter. There we go, identify. I can use a llama because I don't need to set up my API key just to test this out. And then I set this up, I run that. And there it goes, it creates it right there in my user directory, in the app directory. So then I need Docker Compose for this. Oh, let me see. Right. This already existed from earlier. Well, I suppose I can cross that bridge when it comes. But if I deploy, for example, to HuggingFace, I'll want to persist, or even DigitalOcean app platform, or open a droplet. I would have to look at persistence. So one thing I need to do is just create a new folder. Move the Dockerfile in there. Kill this. Rebuild it. But run it from here. That way we're not going to copy any data into it. And if I could figure out what the default location for the Chroma database, that'd be nice. In the file system, I had to manually specify to put the Chroma SQLite in the project folder here. So now from Docker's perspective, we're just going to have a Docker file. And we actually don't even need this step, to be honest. Yeah, we don't need to copy anything because all we're running is just the pip install. Let me build it one more time. And then how do I set it up as a dev container so I can just hop in there and look around? That's interesting. I have dev containers and extension installed, right? Dev container or dev containers by Microsoft. Okay, I didn't have that. Open any folder or repository inside of a Docker container and take advantage of Visual Studio Code's full feature set. It's not exactly. It's a good idea, though. All right. Still waiting on that. So let's see if I can push this to Docker Hub. Go back to that. Yo. See what these warnings have? I don't know what it all means. Okay, so how do we publish this to Docker Hub? I'll go back to the chat. Oh, okay. So I need to build that. That's Briley, Langflow pre-release. Then I can push. We should get something here. Got a couple of older ones from 8 and 10 years ago. Wow, haven't used this in a while, as you can see. Surprised my password still worked. Apparently I've logged in recently. 8 years ago, yeah. This was from my first job in Finland, working on at a company where we had a couple of projects, open source projects, and then the second open source one we were doing an API platform, like a management platform. And then part of the work involved integrating this, what's like a kind of reverse proxy called API Umbrella. I wonder how that's doing. 0.15. All right. Well, let's see. GitHub, InRel, API Umbrella. Last month, GUI's still doing it. Nick Muerder. Never learned how to pronounce his name, but yeah, so project still cruising along. Wow, it's a pretty big image. But yeah, look at this commit activity, just one solo developer pretty much. There I am. Back in 2015. Nice. Oh man, crazy. Yeah. A while ago, a little bit ago, relatively. So yeah, that's what I was doing on Docker Hub. And then book type. What was I doing with book type? We were publishing some stuff. We were publishing open textbooks, open for floss manuals, I think. Yeah, that was a while ago too. Pushed, mounted, and it looks like we're good. If I refresh, what happens? Langflow pre-release. Can now add categories. Okay, let's add a category. What category? All right. Machine learning and AI. Developer tools. Basically. It does interact with vector databases. Well, I'm just gonna The easiest way to build, what does it say on their GitHub? Okay, so now my friends can just run a single command. So let's go ahead and see what that would be like. So I'm helping a friend out at the library, which is exactly what we were doing today. We spent half of our time just getting this thing to run. Should probably add a README. So I believe it will just be, go back to Docker. And delete all of these images. First I have to stop my container. Delete it forever. And delete that orphaned one. Okay. Now I think we're just going to run Docker run pre-release. Whoa, let me see, what was it? Barley Langflow pre-release. Locally. Okay. Let me make sure it's public. First time I've published to Docker Hub in a bit. Can view this. A little larger. All right. Error message: you're encountering suggests there's a typo in your command. You mentioned that you published Barley Langflow with tag pre-release, but the command ran to yeah. Typo. There we go. Good stuff. Oh, yep, I got it. Yep, now I see it locally on Docker. There we go, there we go. And it's running. Yes, that will be so much easier. You know, it's a big download, 1.6 gigs, but we've got pretty good internet here, and you know, previously we were having to download all these dependencies anyway, so I just think this will be so much easier. See, I even have my there here. Update that. It's HTTP. And the interesting thing is the port number 7860. See if that works. Just it's good stuff. So yeah, Docker is much easier for people to install. Windows, Mac, and Linux is pretty much just one download. Whereas Python virtual environments are just unfortunately painful to work with, even as a Python professional. Still having pains. So yeah, it'll be nice to see the security once that gets scanned. If it might look at the Python dependencies, I'm not sure what exactly it does. If I would need a requirements text. Anyway. I should probably be explicit about which tag, which pre-release tag, because these are essentially all the pre-releases coming from here. You know, these are all pre-released, and they just released number 59. Wait. Oh, I see. Project description, stable release from not that long ago, but it's missing a lot of key features. And they're releasing so often, I don't think I'll be able to keep up with this. So that'd be interesting if I could somehow trigger a build from their repository. Anyway, this is just for my own purposes to help people learn. So I'm not trying to override their sit on their Docker image or their namespace or anything like that. They have their own CI pipeline and everything like that. But if we do look here on Docker Hub, actually, didn't need to do any of this at all. So let me double check. So that's probably Langflow, and they're already building it. Anyway, it was a nice learning exercise. Theirs is a bit more comprehensive. Let's see which one they're using. .12. Oh, okay. So they're able to do that, and they're using poetry. Interesting. Because they're installing Build Essential. NPM. Whoa. It's a heavier image. But it's kept up to date by them, so that's good. That's the weird thing, though. It says Langflow 0.70. Looks like it's got everything, though. Yeah, so then the learning will continue. We'll have to work on finding out what all these blocks do. I'd really like to be able to pull in some data from like Wikipedia API, but I don't know how to use any of these wrappers, these utils. They give you a callable, and it doesn't really say what it can plug into. No compatible components can be found. The closest I found were under chains, like conversation chain. It has a blue input, but that's not really quite. And then there are tool calling agents. And I thought, you know, like Bing search could be a kind of a tool. But yeah, I don't know. We would really like to be able to start working with some search data in our agents. And another problem that I'm finding is there's not so many, apparently, search APIs, API-based search services that are affordably priced. The ones that are supported here were like Circs. There's a couple of them. We can look under that. I think they're just under tools. Search API and Circs. And if we look at pricing, actually, this would be the one I would want to use, this meta Circs, if we could use an API-based search here. Yeah, so anyway, Bing Search API, documentation, we just wanted a search, like a web search. We can look at the pricing. A 1,000 transactions for free per month. 3 transactions per second. Cool. Yeah, then it just jumps to 25. So they jump up quickly. I was sort of hoping, you know, we would get some usage-based pricing, which isn't always the best for the consumers. But this is it's an aside. But if there would be like a $5 a month tier, you know, 1,000 is pretty good, but then it jumps to 25 for 1,000, and 25 for 25,000 star. Spell check, auto suggest. But we would want the web search, so you just get a faster transaction rate, but the price jumps quick. Ah, okay. So that was the highest TPS peer. Now I see. Okay, so this is not so bad. Visual search though. Web search 22, 150 TPS. Web search. So we just want the web. Yeah. So we have S5, S4, S3. So S1 is like their highest tier. So yeah, we could get it down to about 15 a month. But even then, it would be nice to have like a 5 a month tier. Depending on our use case, but 1,000 is pretty good to start with. 1,000 a month for our small project we're building. Okay, so the next thing I would like to do is try deploying, let's try deploying Langflow to DigitalOcean spaces. That might be good. And I'll have to cross this bridge. I believe I'll have to cross the bridge of data persistence unless I use a vector store, a cloud-based vector store, and those have usage-based pricing, so it's not so bad. So we've got this Dockerfile. And if I create a DigitalOcean space for 5 a month, I can just deploy this, I think. So we'll come back. That would be cool to use a public search engine, I guess, how you say it, and then have a search module for the Langflow. Maybe that'll be something we can work on. So let me just do this real quick. The reason I want to deploy this is so I can share this with a friend in California. A particular project I've built locally twice now. I'm going to have to build it again, it looks like, because I haven't persisted it to GitHub like an idiot. So yeah, we'll hop back over here. So here's how it's working. They have this app platform, which is pretty nice. It lets you deploy static sites and things like that. And you can just deploy them straight from your Git repository, which is pretty convenient. So it's the Heroku developer experience. So we've got an image here on Docker Hub. I think I would just try deploying this one, but we might be on a slippery slope here. Our app might break. Yeah, this is where we'll immediately need persistence because the all of the flows will get reset every time this image rebuilds. So that's a problem. That's a problem there. Component 100 gig disk, 10 a month. So it costs really quickly 40 a month. That's the challenge. It's much cheaper to run on an app platform. Let's just try it out real quick. Langflow. And the tag will be 1.0 alpha. The problem being it's going to get rebuilt multiple times a day. 4 hours ago. 0.7. What's a weird one? I guess because version 70 is technically 1.0, something like that. I don't know. Next. Oh, I see. Yeah, and see, we can get it down to about 5 a month here. Without persistence, though. Now, I don't know if this will automatically deploy, if there's like a webhook this will create, or somehow subscription it'll make to the Langflow or cron it runs or whatever to check for updates, and then automatically redeploy. So I suspect that it would have something built in like that. Google Cloud's a bit too expensive. So there's like a one that can help us. So if I look at the app spec, okay, let's see what happened there. So the build worked, but the deployment failed. Or did it? With a 7860. Yeah, this is probably about all we need. So we don't need to redirect. We just need port mapping. Which could be where mine is a little bit better because it has the expose. Now, one thing that's been confusing is how do you view the source of a Dockerfile? Here we are. Didn't used to be able to do that, I think. Entry point 7860, yeah, that's correct. And it doesn't have the metadata exposed, so it would be a little bit harder for DigitalOcean to infer the correct port here. But I think if we add that, and I could add a pull request to add that, it might make it work a little bit better. So let's just close this real quick. Hey, live app. Langflow test. Dang, it worked. So yeah, I just changed the port mapping. Very cool, very cool. Now here's the problem, here's the exact problem. Create a new project, basic prompting hello world. Right, we go back to our main. New project, basic prompting hello world. Wait a minute. Not a good sign. Unavailable. What happened? Ran out of resources probably. All right, here's what we're gonna do. Destroy that app. Yeah, look at this, 87% RAM. So can't do it on a 5-month droplet. All right. So let's just do two things here. Create a new one, 10 euros a month or whatever. Okay. But we're gonna deploy it from mine, which has the metadata of which port to expose. So if we look at my pre-release, I believe DigitalOcean can parse this and detect that. Let's try it out. So we're going to do this and set that up again. We'll maybe come back to this. I think I can get an app spec though. That's just image instead of, let me leave those open. Okay, so that was a bad attempt. We'll come back to that one later. Just gonna kind of close up some of these tabs. I get confused too easily. And Docker Hub, that one, and the tag would be pre-release. Or was it? Yeah, it was pre-release. Don't need credentials. Lobster app. It's kind of annoying I can't change the app here. I was just thinking of the persistence, how we will persist these graphs, and later on I'll come back to it. No, then I can edit the app name here, and Amsterdam is fine, I suppose. I don't know. Germany and Amsterdam, both pretty good. Place Germany is a little bit closer. Next, 1 gig RAM. Should be enough, should be enough. Whoa, 24 a month though. 2 CPUs is why. Huh? One gig of RAM, 1 CPU, 1 container. That's all I need. HTTP port. Oh, okay. 70. So it didn't detect it. Okay, that's unfortunate. 7860, I think it was. We can see what's going on here. Starting container. Yeah, it's probably not the best idea to run this. What was their run command, by the way? something more elaborate. They probably have a proper server. Let's see, host, Python Langflow run entry point. I don't know what that does. Yeah, it's not going to be as easy as I was hoping. Well, binary you're trying to execute is not compatible with your system's architecture. See, that's what I was kind of actually afraid of earlier. That, you know, and commenting on how it's a bit confusing how these Docker files are cross-compatible with various operating systems because it's not virtualization technology. And so this is one thing I just not really got in my mind around. You have to, it has somehow to be built for the correct architecture, or that's the confusing part. So the architecture on DigitalOcean Spaces. Yeah, so that was a little curious. How do you build a multi-architecture image? So I have to, like, how does that work? We're building on the target architecture. So it was a kind of, I didn't think it was a totally stupid question. I was curious about how, you know, like it would run, I build it on my Mac and how it runs on Windows, right? It's just a bit mysterious. And I'm running M1. So I'm building it on an ARM64, and might be that the DigitalOcean Spaces is running x86 64. DigitalOcean app platform. All right, well, it's getting kind of late, but we made some good progress today. So now, sounds like it might need to be x86, but this is just some kind of community tutorial. I don't know. The drops was using x86. I didn't see an architecture choice there when I configured the app, right? So at a basic level, seems the Docker containers aren't maybe totally portable. There's some caveats in that. Yeah, I've been bitten by this at work as well, where we had to do we had to have a special Dockerfile basically for M1 Max, or a special make command to work around some things on M1, M2 Max. And again, it's like beyond my comprehension. But look at the component here. If I can pick the architecture, that would be cool. But yeah, see, they just say you can select the vCPU. shared. I would think on like Hetzner, or there's a couple of other of these platforms with for VPS hosting that's different than platform as a service, which I'm really interested in, platform as a service. But if I create a droplet though, for example, I might be able to select, ARM droplet, or build a cross-platform Docker image, multi-platform image. So yeah, that, and maybe that, but and let's also remember what's the other one? It's the up-and-comer. Standard, no, risk V. Yeah, I thought of it just as I saw it. Right. So I need to do that. So if I hop back over here, and so we can close this. Yes, this is essentially the command here. Whoops. But I need to put this flag also there. Not supported by the Docker driver. Switch to a different driver. Or turn on the container D image store and try again. Well, yeah. Can you do it in the cloud? Multi-platform builds. Docker build cloud dashboard. I'd put my payment details in. All right, well, this is just not worth the time. It's a bit late. It's almost midnight. Yeah. But I've got a lot to think about, and I'll sleep on it, and that'll usually help me figure stuff out. Takes a while. But hey, we made good progress. But I just realized that, the same image I pushed up here to Docker Hub, my friend can't run that because they're on x86. How can you tell by looking at a particular package here what the platforms is built on? Right there. Okay, ARM64. So that wouldn't even run on their computer? So that's the same issue we'll have. And that was my initial question, kind of, if it was even worth it to build a Docker container. This is just, such a pain to install software and run it locally. It's just really a problem. And probably it's not a Python specific problem. It's just the complexity is really showing in Python ecosystem with like pip and pipx and poetry and conda and all this kind of stuff. It makes it so confusing to even just get started. I was just really trying to save some time here. We want to get to the work. We want to be able to learn Langflow and build the app, ideas that we've got. We don't want to have to fuss around with like architecture, operating system stuff. Okay. All right, so that actually might not be an issue then. That x86 machine they can use ARM64. All right. But why did it crash on DigitalOcean Spaces? Python was compiled for the wrong operating system. Yeah, the Python binary was the problem. All right, anyway, I'm getting pretty tired. So it's been another session, Tech with Briley. We did a little bit more deep dive into Docker, trying to get Langflow, an easy Langflow development environment running. I can run it locally on my computer, no problem. I'm comfortable with pip and virtual environments, but yeah, on my friends' computers, it's not always this most straightforward, and particularly managing different Python versions and stuff, as I mentioned, was a deal breaker since there weren't wheels for some of the dependencies, and they didn't have the build tools. And so, yeah, just a lot of these little things that can be really big gotchas and can completely throw somebody off of the trail, like just non-starter. Yeah. Unless really excited to work with Langflow, haven't gotten to do much during this session. Mostly we're looking at the image building. So yeah, thanks for stopping by. I hope you're doing well. Have a great day.